안녕하세요, 여러분. 오늘은 음향 세팅에 약간 문제가 생겨서 ASMR 마이크가 약간 문제가 생겨서 지금 켜지질 않아요. 그래가지고 오늘은 좀 예정을 바꿔서 도구들도 사실 다 준비해왔는데 소통 플러스 영어 동화 읽어주기 이걸로 좀 예정과 바꿔서 진행을 한번 해볼게요. 미안해. 그치만 이게 안 된다. 조용하게 읽어주는 느낌으로 오늘 시작하도록 할게요. 애쉬 목소리가 더 좋다고. 고마워. 오케이. 그러면 한번 읽어볼까요? Today, I'm gonna read you guys the Aesop for children. And the first one for you is The Frogs and the Ox. An ox came down to a reedy pool to drink. As he splashed heavily into the water, he crushed a young frog into the mud. The old frog soon missed the little one and asked his brothers and sisters what had become of him. A great big monster, said one of them, stepped on little brother with one of his huge feet. Big was he, said the old frog, puffing herself up. Was he as big as this? Oh, much bigger, they cried. The frog puffed up still more. He could not have been bigger than this, she said. But the little frogs all declared that the monster was much, much bigger. And the old frog kept puffing herself out more and more until all at once she burst. Do not attempt the impossible. 아니 이거 어린이 동화 맞나요? 어린이 동화치고 너무 잔인한데요. 세상에나. 그래놓고 교훈이 불가능에 도전하지 말라니, 불가능은 시도하지 말라니. 참 맞아요. 원래 동화들은 원작이 잔혹 동화니까 그렇다고. 근데 사실 진짜 동화들 보면은 말도 안 되게 잔인한 것도 진짜 많은 것 같아. 아니 요즘 애들은 성숙한 게 아니라 오히려 옛날 동화들이 더 막 되게 잔인한 스토리들 많은 것 같아요. Okay. The second story I'm gonna read to you is Belling the Cat. The mice once called a meeting to decide on a plan to free themselves of their enemy, the cat. At least they wished to find some way of knowing when she was coming, so they might have time to run away. Indeed, something had to be done, for they lived in such constant fear of her claws that they hardly dared to stir from their dens by night or day. Many plans were discussed, but none of them was thought good enough. At last, a very young mouse got up and said, I have a plan that seems very simple, but I know it will be successful. All we have to do is to hang a bell about the cat's neck. When we hear the bell ringing, we will know immediately that our enemy is coming. All the mice were much surprised that they had not thought of such a plan before. But in the midst of the rejoicing over their good fortune, an old mouse arose and said, I will say that the plan of the young mouse is very good. But let me ask one question. Who will bell the cat? It is one thing to say that something should be done, but quite a different matter to do it. 맞아요. 누가 고양이 목에 방울을 댈 거냐? 캣과 마우스 이해했다고. 근데 바뀐 걸로 음향 어때요? 여러분, 전에도 ASMR 마이크 말고 멘트용 마이크로, 그러니까 노래용 마이크로 ASMR, 그 낭독 ASMR 한 적 있잖아요. 귀에 팍팍 꽂죠? 아 정말요? ASMR 중에 이런 것도 있었어. 싹둑싹둑 싹둑 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 조물조물조물조물조물조물조물조물 싹둑 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 콜랑콜랑콜랑콜랑 단어 반복 ASMR도 있더라고요. 조물조물조물조물조물조물조물 톡탁 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 싹둑 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 조물조물조물조물 꼼빡꼼빡꼼빡꼼빡 깜빡깜빡깜빡깜빡. 단어 반복해달라는 사람이 있었는데 그것도 한번 제대로 준비해서 그거는 한번 해볼게요 다음에. The next story I'm gonna read to you guys is the town mouse and the country mouse. A town mouse once visited a relative who lived in a country. For lunch, the country mouse served wheat stalks, roots, and acorns with a dash of cold water for a drink. The town mouse ate very sparingly, nibbling a little of this and a little of that, and by her manner, making it very plain that she ate the simple food only to be polite. After the meal, our friends had a long talk. or rather, the town mouse talked about her life in the city while the country mouse listened. They then went to bed in a cozy nest in the hedgerow and slept in quiet and comfort until morning. In her sleep, the country mouse dreamed she was a town mouse with all the luxuries and delights of city life that her friends had described for her. So the next day, when the town mouse asked the country mouse to go home with her to the city, she gladly said yes. When they reached a mansion in which the town mouse lived, they found on the table in a dining room the leavings of the very fine banquet. There were sweetmeats and jellies, pastries, delicious cheeses, indeed, the most tempting food that a mouse can imagine. But just as the country mouse was about to nibble a dainty bit of pastry, she heard a cat mew loudly and scratch at the door. In great fear, the mice scurried to a hiding place where they lay quiet still for a long time, hardly daring to breathe. When at last they ventured back to the feast, the door opened suddenly, and in came the servants to clear the table, following by the house dog. The country mouse stopped in the town mouse's den only long enough to pick up her carpet bag and umbrella. You may have luxuries and dainties that I have not, she said as she hurried away. But I prefer my plain food and simple life in the country with the peace and security that go with it. Poverty with security is better than plenty in the midst of fear and uncertainty. 너무 슬픈 스토리라고. 이거 그거야. 시골지와 도시주의. 근데 그래도 잠은 자라겠다. 내 연애가 들려줬잖아. 아 근데 내가 어렸을 때 읽은 거랑 좀 내용이 다른 것 같아요. The next one I'm gonna read to you guys is The Fox and the Grapes. A fox one day spied a beautiful bunch of ripe grapes hanging from a vine trained along the branches of a tree. The grapes seemed ready to burst with juice, and the fox's mouth watered as he gazed longingly at them. The bunch shone from the high branch, and the fox had to jump for it. The first time he jumped, he missed it by a long way. So he walked off a short distance and took a running leap at it, only to fall short once more. Again and again, he tried, but in vain. Now he sat down and looked at the graves in disgust. What a fool I am, he said. Here I am wearing myself out to get a bunch of sour grapes that are not worth gapping for. And off he walked, very, very scornfully. There are many who pretend to despise and belittle that which is beyond their reach. 이건 여러분들이 모두 알고 있는 여호와 신포도의 이야기예요. 이 정도는 알아들었죠? 그쵸? 저거는 왜 그렇게 열심히 뛰었담? 난 바보네. 저 신포도들을 위해서. 지금 읽고 있는 거 다 이서보아 맞아요. 맞아요. 근데 지금 엄청 정확한 발음이 아니라 잠이 솔솔 잘 오는 그런 느낌으로 읽고 있는 거라서 사실 잘 안 들릴 수도 있어요. 진짜 또박또박 천천히 읽어주면 사실 다 알아들으실 거예요. 맞아요. 소근소근 말하면서 잔잔하게 들어가서 그래. Next one. The wolf and the crane. A wolf had been feasting too greedily, and a bone had stuck crosswise in his throat. He could not get it neither up nor down, and of course he could not eat a thing. Naturally, that was an awful state of affairs for a greedy wolf. So away he hurried to the crane. He was sure that she, with her long neck and bill, would easily be able to reach the bone and pull it out. I will reward you very handsomely, said the wolf, if you pull that bone out of me. The crane, as you can imagine, was very uneasy about putting her head in a wolf's throat. But she was grasping in nature, so she did what the wolf asked her to do. When the wolf felt that the bone was gone, he started to walk away. But what about my reward? Called the crane anxiously. What? Snarled the wolf, whirling around. Haven't you got it? Isn't it enough that I let you take your head out of my mouth without snapping it off? Expect no reward for serving the wicked. 울프오브 월스트리트가 아니고요. 무슨 말이야 그게? the lion and the mouse. Many, many animals, right? A lion lay asleep in the forest, his great head resting on its paws. A timid little mouse came upon him unexpectedly, and in her fright and haste to get away, ran across the lion's nose. Roused from his nap, the lion laid his huge paw angrily on the tiny creature to kill her. "Spare me," begged the poor mouse. "Please let me go, and someday I will surely repay you." The lion was much amused to think that a mouse could ever help him, but it was generous and finally let the mouse go. Some day later, while stalking his prey in the forest, the lion was caught in the toils of a hunter's nest. Unable to free himself, he filled the forest with his angry roaring. The mouse knew the voice and quickly found the lion struggling in the net. Running to one of the great ropes that bound him, she gnawed until it parted, and soon the lion was free. "You laughed when I said I would repay you," said the mouse. "Now you see that even a mouse can help a lion." A kindness is never wasted. Yep, it's repaying. Mouse. A plane tree. Two travelers walking in the noonday sun sought the shade of wide spreading tree to rest. As they lay looking up among the pleasant leaves, they saw that it was a plane tree. "How useless is the plane," said one of them. "It bears no fruit whatever, and only serves to litter the ground with leaves." "Ungrateful creatures," said a voice from the plane tree. "You lie here in my cooling shade, and yet you say I am useless. Thus ungratefully, O Jupiter, do men receive their blessings." Our best blessings are often the least appreciated. 약간 근데 이 서부화는 명언 읽는 느낌이야. The owl and the grasshopper. The owl always takes her sleep during the day, Then, after sundown, when the rosy light fades from the sky and the shadows rise slowly through the wood, out she comes, ruffling and blinking from the old hollow tree. Now her weird hoo hoo echoes through the quiet wood, and she begins her hunt for the bugs and beetles, frogs and mice she liked so well to eat. Now there was a certain old owl who had become very cross and hard to please as she grew older, especially if anything disturbed her daily slumbers. One warm summer afternoon, as she dozed away in her den in the old oak tree, a grasshopper nearby began a joyous but very raspy song. Out piped the old owl's head from the opening in the tree that served her both for door and for window. "Get away from here, sir," she said to the grasshopper. "Have you no manners? You should at least respect my age and leave me to sleep in quiet." But the grasshopper answered saucily that he had so as much right to this place in the sun as the owl had to her place in the oak. Then he struck up a louder and still more rasping tune. The wise old owl knew quite well that it would do no good to argue with a grasshopper, nor with anybody else for that matter. Besides, her eyes were not sharp enough by day to permit her to punish the grasshopper as it deserved. So she laid aside all hard words and spoke very kindly to him. "Well, sir," she said, "if I must stay awake, I am going to settle right down to enjoy your singing. Now that I think of it, I have a wonderful wine here, sent me from Olympus, of which I am told Apollo drinks before he sings to the high gods. Please come up and taste this delicious drink with me. I know it will make you sing like Apollo himself." The foolish grasshopper was taken in by the owl's flattering words. Up he jumped to the owl's den, but as soon as he was near enough so the old owl could see him clearly, she pounced upon him and ate him up. Flattery is not a proof of true admiration. Do not let flattery throw you off your guard against an enemy. 하지만 나는 아우 저게다 몰입이 되는데, 아니 이 쬐끔한 놈이 잘하는데 시끄러. The oak and the reeds. A giant oak stood near a brook in which grew some slender reeds. When the wind blew, the great oak stood proudly upright with its 100 arms uplifted to the sky. But the reeds bowed low in the wind and sang a sad and mournful song. You have reason to complain, said the oak. The slightest breeze that ruffles the surface of the water makes you bow your heads, while I, the mighty oak, stand upright and firm before the howling tempest. Do not worry about us, replied the reeds. The winds do not harm us. We bow before them, and so we do not break. You, in all your pride and strength, have so far resisted their blows. But the end is coming. As the reeds spoke, a great hurricane rushed out of the north. The oak stood proudly and fought against the storm, while the yielding reeds bowed low. The wind redoubled in fury, and all at once the great tree fell, torn up by the roots, and lay among the pitying reeds. Better to yield when it is folly to resist than to resist stubbornly and be destroyed. Okay, now this is the last story I'm gonna read to you. So you gotta be really falling asleep by now, okay? Let's go. The Crow and the Pitcher. In a spell of dry weather, when the birds could find very little to drink, a thirsty crow found the pitcher with a little water in it. But the pitcher was high and had a narrow neck, and no matter how he tried, the crow could not reach the water. The poor thing felt as if he must die of thirst, when an idea came to him. Picking up some small pebbles, he dropped them into the pitcher one by one. With each pebble, the water rose a little higher until, at last, it was near enough so he could drink. In a pinch, a good use of our wits may help us out. 까마귀가 똑똑하긴 해. 실제로 도구를 쓸 수 있대잖아요. 게다가 심지어 복합적인 도구를 쓸 줄도 안 돼요. 진짜 대박. 단계별로 문제를 해결할 수 있다 그러더라. So, this is all I have prepared for today. Are you falling asleep? If you guys liked it, please let me know. I'm gonna make you read more stories to you, okay? And tell me what kinds of stories you'd like me to read to you guys. I'll do my best to find and prepare whatever you guys want me to read. 그럼 여러분들, 오늘의 ASMR는 여기까지고요. 대표 먹으면서 오늘 밤도 잘 자요. Good night. Have sweet dreams. Sweet dreams, my dear.